please.
And his name.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Out of Nowhere. My guest today is Bryan M Bowden, or Sir Bryan Bowden. I know. He's a leading cryptozoologist, UFO researcher, paranormal investigator, remote viewer. You can just go on and on and on. He's a great guy. It's a while since he's been on my show, so it was nice to get him back on again. Can we please welcome Bryan to the show? Hello there.
Hello, Bob. It's great to be here. I thank you very much for having me on. And I'm one of the few people who will say, you don't have to have me on. And I'm actually honored to be asked back again, my friend. So, and it's good to talk with you and your guests and your chat and all that stuff.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I wanted to ask you about first. About the Hudson Valley.
The Hudson Valley. Yes.
Yeah. What first drew you to research the activity in Hudson Valley?
I live off the Hudson River in the Bronx. Well, I used to. And I've seen some strange things up there along the Hudson River. I've actually seen craft at night, which started off as just a pinpoint of light looking like a star, slowly getting bigger and then going into the water and glowing as it's going north from New York City up the Hudson. My guess is it's going towards Indian Point, which is a nuclear reactor, probably about 30 plus miles away from where I live. I live on the tip, in the Bronx, but right at the tip of Manhattan. So I used to live there. It's called Spuyten-Duyvil, which means spit on the devil. And it's where it's where the Harlem River and the Hudson River merge. So it's swirly.
Right. Yeah.
But there's a lot of high strangeness in my area too, because of that. But I've been following it. I remember seeing it on the news broadcast, and in the early 80s, I was, in my teens or something to that effect. And I remember hearing about it in Valhalla, New York, which is really not that far from my home. And then it went up the Hudson Valley into Orange County and Dutchess. That is the area near Pine Bush, the town of Crawford, where Whitley Strieber had his cabin, and he had those experiences with the little grays and probably the bigger grays when he was abducted. But I wasn't keyed in on Whitley at that point. And then it branched off from the Hudson Valley and it moved into the state of Connecticut. Now, I used to go to Connecticut every weekend with my father. He'd go shopping. It was more like a drive to get out of we lived in a very small apartment or flat. There was my parents and my two other brothers and like 4 dogs at one point. It was insane. So we would travel out, spend the day out. And I used to go to summer camp in northwestern Connecticut, and a lot of the roads that I need that it went from the Hudson Valley up Route 84, which is a main thoroughfare from the west of Connecticut all the way up into on the east side of Connecticut. I know all those roads. I know all those towns.
Yeah.
So I was keyed into this. I remember asking my dad, like, hey, can you take me up to whatever? Because I want to see these UFOs. And, my dad just had a long day at work. He looked at me like, no, what are you, crazy? He thought it was all crazy talk, but it wasn't crazy talk. One of the Hudson Valley and that part of New York from Dutchess over into Connecticut, that area has always had a lot of high strangeness. And what's really interesting is we have these stone chambers, roughly 10 by 10, made from all stone, and bigger. They were pockmarked throughout the state of New York, into Connecticut, and then all the way into New England. Have you ever had Dennis Stone on, the owner of American Stonehenge?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay, I'll connect you with Dennis is a great guy.
Thank you.
So he has a property in Salem, New Hampshire called American Stonehenge. And it's this prehistoric type of stone chambers. the alignments of these stone chambers. There was a woman, I think Linda Zimmerman, and I had her on my old show, and she just came to the conclusion that it was a cold storage cellar by the natives, and she did not do the proper research.
No.
There are anomalies around each one of them. There's a magnetic field around each one of them. They're all astronomically aligned. And we did an investigation in one of those a couple of years ago, and I went back about a year, last year. And when you get into this chamber, of course, it's naturally going to be cooler than the outside. So we were doing it during the summer. And what I like to do is, I think the whole thing about paranormal and high strangeness and all these cryptids and UFOs deals with sound, frequency, vibration, resonance. I've known this for decades. So when I go out, and yes, I did study science. I studied physics and astronomy and engineering at one point. Thought about being an astrophysicist or rocket scientist. I just nope, I don't want anybody owning my work. So I changed it. But I do use certain methods, and I use sound, frequency, and vibration in all of my research. We set up FLIR cameras. I had a FLIR camera pointed at the center. It was just to the left of me. And it's a 10 by 10 room with a 10-foot ceiling. And it was about 98 degrees outside or more. And inside the chamber, it was naturally cooler. But once I started ramming, I used a Tibetan singing bowl. And once I started using the Tibetan singing bowl, and it was the heart chakra bowl for your heart. It's very important when you're using these things. Just because it's from Tibet doesn't mean that you should be using it. I prefer the heart chakra, a little bit more, or the crown, because it opens up your third eye and whatever. And as I'm doing this, if you've seen a FLIR video before, the darker it is, I'm using the rainbow spectrum. So the darker it is, the cooler it is. And this purple darkness started to circle around a center. And in the video, which is on, I posted it. I'm going to be posting it on my YouTube at @Bryan Bowden with a Y. And I'm just going to pull it over. In that video, you literally, I believe a portal opened up, and I'm like, and I say it because things got really weird. And then at one point you see something peek in and peek out. And I'm like, did you see that? Did you see that? Now, I'm not going to go into the portal because they can be very dangerous. You don't know what you're playing with. Exactly. So, right. So when I deal with something that has a portal, we try to have some kind of drone in there to go in, because I know of other investigators and researchers that have had portals open up in other areas of the U.S. and several people have gone in, and within 6 months they were all dead. Horrible, horrific type of deaths. So there may be some kind of radiation or other things that take place in that portal we're not prepared for as human beings right now. So I would recommend, if you hear a portal opening or see one, don't step in it. You don't want to get hurt. So this is one of those areas there. Also, what was really interesting about this, the stone chamber, is if you enter the stone chamber, you look to the back wall, there's a large stone, very much like Avebury and Stonehenge, one of the, the big stones.
Yeah.
And it looks like a doorway, but here's where it gets strange. If you use ultraviolet or infrared, and you look at the doorway, there were 4 ruins on it: earth, wind, fire, air. And then you can see them. I have pictures of it. I wasn't prepared for that. So they'll be on YouTube for me right now. I'm working on my website or my Facebook page. But it's very interesting. So I take the camera off and everything. I'm looking. There's nothing there that would let you know or see something is on this door. So there's some other aspect of taking place here. And I believe these are portals throughout the area that allowed individuals to transport themselves, seriously walk through them to go to other areas quicker. I've been to Stonehenge. I remember when I was 18, I took off a while, and I was in the UK. and you don't understand, I loved it. We went all over. There's moments of me in a kilt, very intoxicated, which was great. And me sitting with, the band, the Alarm over in the Liverpool area. It was just a wonderful time. But one of the trips we did a Bath, Stonehenge, and Aysbury, and that whole area. And of
Oh, yeah.
course, the day I go to that trip, I come out of the pub that night. I'm like, "Is there a fire?" And someone goes, "No, that's London fog." And I'm like, "Ugh." So to my advantage, though, because when you get to Stonehenge, they have a rope there. I love you, English, because you just put this little rope that's around there that you can step over.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there wasn't any police officer or anybody there. You couldn't even see. So I walked up to the stones, which I wasn't supposed to, and I put my hand on it, and I felt like something was there, like energy, but I don't want to, sometimes your mind plays tricks on you. I don't want it to be something that wasn't, but it was very weird. And I thoroughly believe that when that area was completely constructed, whether it be wood or stone, and the individuals that utilize that, I believe that they were able to, through sound and frequency, um, one, heal people. They would bring them to
Yeah,
heal them. And two, they were using it to transport themselves from like that point to, other areas. Um, and so it's very interesting. Now, if you look throughout the world, there are certain symbols for portals, and it's usually the constant circle within this,
yeah.
spinning around. That is found in almost every country around the world, in multiple locations. That symbol, and it's a circle. It's not a, there's other like things that are triangles. That's something totally different. But I believe that this is how they would represent what was taking place. This opening that went and opened up, and things would come out or go in. So this is part of the Hudson Valley, though. There are a lot of portals that open up there. There are strange orbs that appear. Um, there are animals that should not be in New York State that appear are in the forest there at one moment and seen by a bunch of witnesses, and then they disappear and no one can find them. All proceeding like UFO sightings, orbs, and so that kind of thing. To see when you see something that's a portal, it's something that really will open up. It could be a circle, it could be a box, it will be a geometric shape. There's a lot more reports now of a metallic sound associating with portals opening and closing, kind of like scraping, and
Yeah.
something loud that should not be in the woods while you're there. So that could be one of the things. But one of the instruments that I use when going on an investigation or in any location, whether it's planned or not, I'm the number one instrument. I do remote view, and I do have a certain abilities, and I do utilize them prior to going and when I'm there. I want to scan the area. But two, I carry a tri-field meter because it carries a couple of spectrums. I have a spectrometer, which will tell me what frequencies are being broadcast. There's a lot of talk about 1.6 and 1.9 gigahertz.
Yeah.
It's not UFOs, folks. That is a military-based channel. It's what satellites use 24/7, and that's why you're getting them all over the place. GPS uses it, military uses it. It's very restricted channel, so you have to get permission for that. But then I also use I carry with me a Geiger counter, because there is a theory, both scientifically and throughout all our paranormal researching friends and colleagues, that a radiation signature gets higher when a portal is being used. And I've noticed this on my Bigfoot investigations and other cryptid investigations. When they disappear and appear, and it's not a long signature, but it's long enough where you kind of pick up something and you get a spike.
When you're on about Bigfoot disappearing, do you think they're interdimensional then?
You know what? Yeah, I do. I was originally a flesh and blood guy for a long, long time. I figured Gigantopithecus or something, along that lines, and it's been hiding, kind of like the Sealy camp was. But during an investigation 2015, we had a Bigfoot. We're getting hit with some tremendous infrasound and pressure. It was really uncomfortable, and we got to a point where we wouldn't move from where we were. This thing was trying to get us out. It did a bluff charge at us, scared the hell out of the third person that was there who wasn't prepared for that, on this investigation. Tree knocks, wood knocks, but it did a whoop, 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 3 whoops in a row, very similar to the Sierra Sound whoop.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop. No difference in the cadence or anything. And there were 2 right by us, which reverberated off our chest, my chest. And the third one was at the other end of the lake we were at, which is 2 miles away. And the only way you can go from point A to point B in an instant is if you can open up a portal, step in, and come out where you want. And then if you think about it logically, if you have the ability to transform, which is an inherent ability, kind of like, I'll ask you this: how do you know how to breathe?
Exactly. How do you know? Well,
It's an innate ability, right? It's
yes,
just we do it. Same principle. So if these creatures have an innate ability, and in order to go from flesh and blood into some other type of electronics or energy source, which is usually orbs or active camouflage, what happens when you have a Bigfoot experience? What gets drained? Your batteries. What gets affected? Digital cameras, because it all relies on batteries. Blob squatches, okay? They know what you have in your hand.
They're just
And they
giant.
use that energy, as well as what Tesla said, 369, the free energy out of the world, around the globe. And you'll always get quartz in the area. Those store energy, by the way. Some Bigfoot have been reported carrying pieces of quartz on them, almost like an amulet.
Oh.
And yeah, and they may, we make watches out of quartz because there's a piezoelectric factor to it. So they steal this energy from you. They convert into active camouflage, and they're in between being physical and then going interdimensional. This gives them active camouflage. They have an ability to use this. It's not going to be on the test, but I'm going to tell you, soft physics within their body, on their skin and their hairs, growth, to manipulate. When you use other animals use this, like hummingbirds, they change color. Chameleons, it's soft physics, and they build up certain types of material on the skin or the derma and within the root.
I suppose when you talk about that, it's
right?
when our hair stands on end on our arms, when sometimes you get frightened and you think, whoa, what's that?
Yeah, I mean, it's especially when you and Paul go out. That gets fun, but it does. It's unnerving. One of the biggest tells I have is if I'm hanging out someplace and then all of a sudden I get the goosebumps, the goose flush, something's going to happen. That is always a tell for me. I'm like, oh, something's going to happen. And they're like, how do you know? I'm telling you something's going to happen. But it is unnerving, and they know that how to kind of manipulate you with infrasound and other things. If they can start draining energy, and you see this figure that looks like something at a predator, which people have reported. Also, what people report is orbs with Bigfoot sightings, and they say UFOs, but it's not necessarily, you can't correlate that. What happens is they change their energy from flesh and blood, and they start slowly molecularly changing into another energy source, which becomes a form of light. And just before they transfer, move into another change, there's always an event horizon. There's always a spark. So case in point, if you're traveling the speed of sound, you need more energy to get to that point We all know this in science, than you need once you get to that point. And what happens is you get to a certain event horizon just before you go hypersonic, you get a boom, a pop, a sonic boom, and then you don't hear it anymore because you don't need it. You're already going at that speed constantly. Same principle, a lot of science going on there, which is interesting.
Yeah,
yeah,
Rick,
they're interdimensional.
I'm going to say Rick Allen's in the chat room. He's just saying, where are we? Saying that Bigfoot is interdimensional is a flawed concept. If extra-dimensional do exist, then they are tiny and compactified.
Compactified.
Yeah. Interdimensional is not an answer.
Actually, interdimensional, it would be an answer. I mean, everybody has their opinion on it. But when you travel interdimensionally, you can, I mean, you can open, portals and move in a different capacity because you're a different form of energy. I think Rick is thinking more along the line, you get an 8, 10, 15 foot creature, and you have to compact yourself. Well, what compacts? Maybe you become a molecule. You're changing your electric signals and composition into a different form of energy. I mean, this all gets on the line of quantum mechanics. And one day, and I think ghosts use this too. They're playing around in a quantum field. Now, does quantum mechanics talk about interdimensional? Yes, they do, and they don't. It depends on what side of you want to be in this, quantum fight. But I deal with Wei Ping Yu, who is a physicist, Steve Sanchez, who is a rocket scientist for NASA, and I mean, I've proposed all of this, and they said yes, because what we've learned in universities is not the end all be all in science. We really don't know. So interdimensionally is maybe a placeholder for you instead of where they travel actually. But we know there are interdimensional beings which are made up of energy, and those beings can transform themselves on this plane into whatever they so choose. So if they can do it and they exist, why can't Bigfoot do it as well, or some of these cryptids? And that's just, we all have our druthers.
Oh, yeah, of course we do. Yeah. Do you believe that the Hudson Valley flap of the 1980s were a pact or something larger or global?
You mean that whole 80s, Hudson Valley, that experience? I think they were looking for something that took place. And, I think they were on a mission. There's a gentleman in the US, and he does, Tim Conwell, Tom Conwell, and he does a lot of UFO stuff. He's great. I interviewed him, and I'm friends with him. And you'll get UFOs and these craft in certain areas for a while, and they kind of start to appear at top. And what they're doing is they're surveying. They're going boom, 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 back and forth, up and down. And when their survey ends, they move on. But this seemed more like these crafts were looking for something specifically in that area. And they were following things from the Hudson Valley, and then they went up into New England. So I definitely think it's part of a bigger flap or going on, but we were not aware of it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you've just gone. Oh, you're back on again.
Yeah, no. I if I'm going to make some sounds or cough or whatever, I'll mute myself so I don't give it to everybody else.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. But tell us about, have you been abducted then?
That night we had the UFO encounter. We also had the Bigfoot encounter. We had a UFO encounter. Again, I have video of it, and it was really interesting. After we moved from that location to the next location, which literally took us no more than 10 minutes in reality, but we saw this UFO, this orange object going from right to left over this lake. And I said, what is that? And then it stopped and it started heading towards us. Prior to doing that, I was using an Olympus, I think it's a A4, like underwater camera.
Mm.
And what's great about it is they have some kind of algorithm in there where you don't necessarily need to use the flash to take underwater images because there's less light. Okay. But they come out really great. And I had a full card on there. And when this craft came over, I started recording. I remember putting it in my bag and something said to me, don't be that guy, Bryan, that gets an opportunity and misses it. So I put it in my breast pocket. And when it came over, I started recording. And I would not have let that recording stop whatsoever. I would have gone till that whole card maxed out. But it only went for like a minute and a little bit more. And if you listen to it, again, I believe it's on my YouTube channel. You can hear that one of the guys there, Bill, is talking almost robotically, like he's under the guise of something. Oh, there it is. It's going. It's very robotic. And when we were having that encounter, my buddy goes, time check. And he said, one of the guys said 9:15 p.m. So when we got, after it was over, it's over. And we started walking back to this next location. We set up, we started doing certain things, no more than 45 minutes, no more. And we said, let's call our psychic back in Arkansas. And my buddy, I said, yeah, cool. So this guy, Bill, went off on his own, but Al and I were together. And he goes, give me a time check. And literally, this is within no more than 40 minutes from that moment of the UFO. I looked down, it was 11:45.
Oh,
so we lost a lot of time. And we're like, what? And then we had an experience. We get her on the phone. And the next thing we hear is what sounds like a family coming through the woods. Now, mind you, this is Halloween, midnight, in the middle of the woods. And it sounds like a family's on a pleasure hike. We hang up on Cindy, our psychic, and we say, like, hey, turn the lights on. We don't want to scare these people. And we're waiting and we're waiting and waiting. They don't come out. So when we call Cindy back, first of all, she's pissed at us. And we said, well, we explained. And she goes, they're not there. They won't be there until tomorrow. You're in a time-space rip. And we're like, what? So we were in a moment where there was also a rip in time and space. We were catching a different end of it.
Right.
So after an investigation, we kind of left not that long after that. Normally we would go to a local diner, get some coffee or something, some eats, and everybody do a debrief. What did you see? What did you? And record those sessions because everybody's perspective is different. It didn't happen. So Al and Bill went their separate ways and they both went to each other's, Al went to his house. Bill eventually went home. I drove from there back to New York City. And the next morning I wake up and I have this metallic taste in my mouth, very metallic. It's like chemicals and whatever.
Mm.
And I get up, I sleep with just a pair of shorts on, no shirt, go to the bathroom, and I look at my mouth. It's blue. It's as if I was taking methylene blue.
Oh my God.
Okay. And I only said methylene blue because that's literally what it looks like when you take some of that stuff. So I go and I call up Al and I'm like, hey, anything happened to you last night? And he goes, I said, do you have anything strange? He goes, well, I woke up with this hard thing in my lip. I told him about the taste of my mouth. It looked like I eat a Smurf, one of those little, blue characters. I said, call Bill and find out if anything happened to him because I think something happened. So he gets off the phone. He calls Bill up. And when I'm standing there, my wife comes in with my two daughters from Sunday school. And they go, Daddy, and they come over and they go, what happened to you? And I'm like, what? Those bruises. Now, Bob, I didn't run into anything. I didn't get poked by anything. Nothing happened. But I have a bruise on my chest in one area and then by my stomach, another. 2 big bruises, which I took pictures of. My buddy calls me back, and the other guy, Bill, was screaming bloody murder. about 3:30, 4 in the morning, and he's staying at his mom's house, scared the hell out of his mother. So we all lost a couple hours of missing time. But the only other time that I recall being abducted was my trips, and this was 2019, 2020 or something like that. We were traveling from New York to Florida, trying to look for a place to stay. And because we're moving from New York to Florida. So we had a halfway point, which is in Florence, South Carolina. That's usually the halfway point from New York. We get a hotel room and we'd rest. We originally stayed an hour earlier in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So when we get to there, we're traveling, and it's only an hour difference. Everybody's passed out in the car. The other half, the mom and the two kids. And we get to a point, and they shut the major highway down, or the motorway in your case, and they put us on a side road, which is like a country road, 301. So I wanted to have a smoke.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, we're only an hour away. It's like it's 20 to 12. I pull over at a quarter to 12 at night, over on the side of the road, shut the overhead lamp out, and I'm seeing some really weird, light in the sky going red, orange, green, blue, purple burst. Close the door. I light my cigarette, and I'm watching this, and it's doing all that stuff. Red, orange, green, blue, purple burst. And it's kind of like, doing a vibration thing. And I wish I had my psionic, night camera where I can, and I'm like smoking a cigarette. And the next thing you know, it kind of gets bigger. It does a little bit of a burst, more brighter. And the next thing I know, again, it's no more than a quarter to 12 midnight. I should be pulling in at a quarter to 1 in the morning. I wake up in my car and with a bad headache. And I'm like, what? Like, how did I get here? I don't remember it. And I put on my phone and I use an app called Waze, W-A-Z-E, for directions. So it says, when I tap my phone, it goes from the black screen to the regular screen. It says, do you want to resume? So I'm like, yeah. And I hit that. And then it says, you'll be at your destination at 4 in the morning.
No.
So from a quarter to 12 till about 3 in the morning, we were missing. Now, when I get to the hotel and I pull in at 4, their mom's like, what time is it? I said, it's about 4 in the morning. Because what took so long? And what am I going to, I can't tell these kids and them, we got abducted by UFO, right? So I said, they shut down the road. Everybody goes to sleep. They complain about headaches too. They're like, oh, my head hurts. They just go to sleep. We all go to sleep. And the next morning when we get up to go do the rest of the trip to Florida, my youngest, when she gets up, she's sleeping in bed with her sister. When she gets up, there's a little bit of a red spot on the sheet. And she goes, Daddy, can you help me with, my clothes? So she takes off her top and I'm looking, there's some like a red spot. And it's over her, what was it? The right or left shoulder. I don't remember at this point. And she goes, what are you looking for? I said, I thought, because I see this blood spot, little, like she was leaking something. And I said, I look like you had a mosquito bite. I can't tell this girl what's happening, but she has an indentation that looks like a BB, little pellet was pushed into her. Scoop mark, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, crap.
Yeah,
I wasn't happy about that. So we go down to Florida. We're there for a week. And the last day when we're coming back up, we were visiting a friend. It's dusky. And I see that object. And it's going red, orange, green, blue, purple burst. And my whole family's in our friend's house. And I said, you can take me. You can take their mother. Don't touch my kids. Don't touch my children. Like I have authority, which you don't. We go back to New York, and when we got back, we had lunch with a friend of my wife's who has a daughter. So we went out to eat. I went inside to pay the bill. I said, I'm going to use the restroom. I'll pay the bill, and then we'll go. And when I come out after, paying the bill, I see my oldest daughter, who never gets sick, never gets ill. She's like, like always nothing. And her nose is being held by, I'm like, what happened? She goes, she had a really bad nosebleed. I said, what? Okay. All these things are in my head. I know what these things mean.
Yeah.
And then she comes out and she says, I'm trying to make something that would fit it or something like that. And she goes, this came out of her nose. And it's like a little piece of material. And my eyes widened. And I just so happened to have, because it was around the sea event, I had Ziploc bags in my pocket as extra gloves just in case to grab
Brilliant.
doors. So I'm like, ooh, I'll take it. Here, put it in there. And I zipped it. Now I have a friend down at NYU that does genetic testing. And I'm like, I just got this best evidence, boom, 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 whatever. So I get home and my mission is to get it into the freezer and keep it cold. That's what you got to do with DNA.
Yeah.
But every time I'm doing it, I kind of get dragged away and pulled, and it kind of loses. And I'm like, then I remembered in the morning, like when I'm like, oh my God. And I found it. It was all crumbled. It was, I opened the bag and it fell, and I'm like, oh, this, they mustn't not want me to
Exactly
do it. So I
exactly.
didn't get it. And let me tell you something. It's not an excuse and it's not a joke. A lot of that stuff happens more than you know. I'm sure, Bob, when you and Paul go out on investigation, or when you go on an investigation, something says turn your recorder on, but you forget to, or nothing's gonna happen. And then you get one like, oh my God.
Yeah, it does.
Or you get it and then you go to the file and it says corrupted. And I've had that many, many times. But yeah, I think we've been abducted. I don't, I don't really want to remember. And that comes from the advice of a good friend of Paul's and of mine, Derek Tyler.
Oh yeah, Derek. Yeah, I know Derek.
Yeah, and it's sad. He if you don't know Derek Tyler, please go get his book. It's on Amazon. An amazing author, amazing experience. And I don't get scared by many things in this world except for an Internal Revenue Service letter and a doctor saying it's a girl, because I don't need any more of those. So, but his book really unnerved me, because he's been abducted multiple times, multiple different species, including the government. So I played him that video of the missing time at the lake that we're at, and he goes, I think you were downloaded. And I said, excuse me? He goes, yeah, you were downloaded, meaning we were abducted. They took information, whatever.
Yeah.
He goes, how do you sleep? And I don't sleep very well. I have 2 daughters and my brain goes on. He goes, no, do you have like nightmares? I'm like, nope. He goes, don't regress. Because we were thinking about getting regress. He goes, once you do that, you can't undo that. They purposely block you from things because you do not want to see and know and feel what you went through. So I never got regressed, and I have no reason to get regressed personally. Either you believe in it or not. That's how I look at it.
Brian, do you think sometimes we are chosen to see things like other people can't see something? You might say, look at that out there, and you go, somebody might say, I can't see, no, but you can.
100%. That happens so many different times. It's happened to me where I'm on the receiving end of seeing it and other people aren't. And if you know the constitution of the others we're talking about, even people that want to see it in the field, until you are mentally and consciously prepared for something or ready or can deal with it, you're not going to know this. Now, I don't know if you've noticed with people who have been abducted that they normally keep them, they normally put whatever in place to block information because it's kind of hard. I mean, if you woke up and you saw these reptilian figures as an example, you'd freak out. But over time, if they let you remember a little bit and you can deal with it, they know when you can deal with it. And when you're ready, they may let you remember these things. And those things come in as images, engines, star charts, whatever. So, but there are people that they're not equipped for this, and they're not chosen. I don't want to say you're special, but because of certain things that go on with you and who you are, you're allowed to remember things and see things. I've been there. I mean, like, I'm just thankful when we were at Pine Bush, we did they do the Pine Bush UFO Festival. And Al and I did 3 15-minute presentations, 3 half-an-hour presentations, and 3-hour presentations. We were there at 4 in the morning, and we were there all day. We were exhausted. But we promised to do, I don't like to call it a CE5, but an active intelligence encounter, which is a CE5. And we were like so tired, but I met this young lady and her grandma, and she's like, "Oh, we came here for the CE5." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." We get to the field, and we're greeted by at least 75 to 80 men, women, children, families are there. And then I get, Mark D'Antonio's calling, and I'm like, "Where are you guys?" We tell him where we are. And my other friend Bill's calling, "Where are you guys?" We get another bunch of people. We had about 130 people there at the time. And it just so happened that German TV 7 was filming the UFO festival. I said, "Hey, we're going to do a CE5." They filmed me there at the CE5 area. You want to stay? And that guy was like, "I'm done. I've been here all day. I got to get out of here." So he left. So I'm conducting the CE5. We know where the pattern is. There's no aircraft near us. You can see for miles. You can see, like probably 30 miles out, 40 miles out, you see mountains in from where you are. And I said, "Okay, bring it down. I'm bringing everything down for everybody, and let's focus on, sending out. We want an interaction. We don't want anybody to get hurt or harmed. We just want to have an interaction with you." And at one point, my buddy Al Santoriga, he's sitting next to me, but he just finished chemotherapy. He's wiped out. So I hear an owl. Ooh, that's what it sounds like, hooting and hollering. And we're out in this area that normally is a park. So there's a soccer field, there's baseball fields, and we're on this acreage upon acreage of grass that overlooks it, and a couple of houses off to the side. And I'm just about to turn my head and say, "Do you hear the hooting and hollering?" So I thought some kids were also drinking, hanging out. Some guy comes, and this is weird too. And he comes from out of the woods. He goes, "Do you hear that owl?" And I said, "Yeah, I was just about to." And as soon as I said that, above our head is a UFO. Everybody's going nuts. It is like gunmetal black. There are some edges to it. It's more of a delta. And there's a center dome on that thing. And it's that LED white. I can't describe it other than that, where even if you're looking at a bright LED, you can still look at it. It doesn't blind you. And I can see the rivet marks of how it looks like a washer, a nut holding it in place. It's ginormous. People are oohing and eyeing. And I'm like, even for me as an experienced person, I'm like, holy, there it is. So I said to it, "Can you go out to thank you for appearing. Can you go out to those mountains and do some?" And I started doing it with a light, maneuvers, like 90-degree maneuvers, which were virtually impossible. It blinks out, and then you see this light, and it goes out to the mountaintop, and it starts going from mountaintop to mountaintop in an instant and making extreme 90-degree turns. And it's blinking. It stops, it blinks. So my buddy Al signaling it, Morse code, it signals back. Then we're like, "Oh my God, everybody's going crazy." And I said, "Can you please come back?" And in an instant, we just want one more interaction with you. And it appears above our heads. And when I tell you it appears above our heads, it had to be at least 5 acres minimum by 5 acres or more. It was huge, not a sound. And we said, "Thank you very much for coming. May you go in peace, and we appreciate it." And then it just disappeared and was gone. And everybody went nuts. Now, what was interesting about that, Bob, and I didn't know it at the time, one of the people watching the entire experience was the chief of police of Crawford.
Oh, my God.
And I've been trying since that moment to get an interview with him off the record, because I have some law enforcement in my family. He won't budge. But the next day, the town, the person that does events in the town, Dumani, she's calling Al going, "What the hell did you guys do up there?" I'm getting call after call. And Al goes, "We brought in a UFO." And she's like, "What?" And I've talked to several of the people that were there witnessing it, and they go, that was one of the greatest moments of their lives. But fast forward during COVID, I did another CE5 event, and I brought my daughter with me. And I said, just, start filming. And here's the whole thing about this paranormal and the high strangeness and weirdness. If your intentions aren't pure, you're not going to get a result. Tension is huge. Okay. We had we're calling out for these UFOs now. We're out again, not on the same spot of where we had the first one, but we're down underneath in an area where there's a little bit of a trellis, so they sell coffee and there's a big screen. I said, okay, everybody, let's focus. We want to have an interaction. Come to us. And on the sides of both of us, there was this, it started off, these little objects just started to appear, little lights. On my side, I saw it as one light, then it went another light above it, and then one to the right and left, and it would go in and out like this. And it's vibrating, but also moving. My daughter saw every one of them, and we were trying to get it closer. We had one obnoxious lady there. Come in, aliens. Which totally ruined it for everybody, to the point where, and it was over, everybody's like, this was incredible. That lady, we should take her out. I'm like, I'm not, but because one person is not serious enough, they would have come in closer and would have given us an experience out of this world if that woman wasn't there. But my daughter saw it, and then she told her mom, like, so cool, Dad, this, like, yes. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, but it's nice when things happen like that.
It's nice, but it doesn't always happen. And to be, when you have a Bigfoot encounter, you can go out 100 times and get nothing. You can go out once and all of a sudden you're getting something.
That's exactly what happens at Benton.
Yeah, and I desperately want to get to Benton. I gotta get my passport renewed too. Once I get there, I'm you'll hear me knocking on your door, like, who bloody hell is that? I'm like, hey, Bob.
Can I ask you about Star Children?
Yes, sir.
Of the Pine, New York.
Yeah, that was it. The woman that did that movie found an image in her grandmother's belongings of her grandmother sitting with a couple of military officers and doctors in lab coats with a extraterrestrial body in front of them.
All right.
And yeah, so she started doing a little bit more research with it. And what happened is she started going down the rabbit hole for the most part, which was, kind of interesting. So there are children that are specifically taken because of certain gifts and abilities. I'm trying to find, I do have an image of some of this, so I was going to share it with you. Boom. And I got in trouble with this one, so I don't want to get you in trouble, but
all right.
Yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble, but I will send it to you, and you choose to do what you wish. It is, I get these images from caller ID numbers 000 and email addresses you can't trace. But so she started researching it, and she started researching about certain children that are physically different, really weird, bigger eyes, larger heads, high IQs, talking about events and different crafts and creatures. And they called them, the light children or the star children, because some of these kids are being taken because they have gifts and abilities, and they're going to like almost a school elsewhere, and they have handlers. I think it's Mary Rodwell does something about the star children and the light language.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because somehow kids and individuals that have no knowledge of or interaction with other people know that they're people in other areas, and they're doing the same thing. And it's not something on the internet. So my kids, my two daughters, very, very gifted psychically. First one couldn't handle it at all. Second one had a hard time, but I've been working with her on it. And these star kids are designed to be filled with a lot of knowledge on how to change humanity for the better. So we're supposed to vibrate at a higher frequency. I know that sounds very genetic, but we only use a small portion of our brain, and we have this potential to use 100. If we could vibrate and change our molecular structure and the way we vibrate, we literally could transcend through materials. We could travel anywhere we wanted to and
Right.
do things, and we can heal people. We can literally levitate objects along with ourselves and make this world a better place, filled with a little bit more peace and common understanding and a love for everybody. And that's what these star children are doing or supposed to be doing. And they're going to tell you, some of them are getting, lessons that certain events are going to take place, earth changes. And they're doing things to warn people about them. This isn't about Mr., like green energy or anything. This is about almost what the Native Americans were doing. They had a high praise for Mother Earth, what they from the animals, and they didn't bastardize it as like some of our political people do. So that's what these star children are designed for. And hopefully, as they get in there, and into life, going from children to teens to adults, we see better things happening from them.
Don't you think a lot of children these days have got the ability to see spirit and things like that?
Oh yeah, I do, but I don't think they can handle it because they don't know what's going on, and it can get scary. I'll give you an example. My youngest was scared out of her mind because she kept seeing something. So I in the apartment, she would stare and her eyes get wide, and it's unnerving. So I called up. Sometimes I can't see it and I can't, drill down into it. So I called up the psychic, or my she's like a sister to me, Cindy Bailey Dove. She's in Arkansas. And I said, Cindy, can you help me with this? Because I want to protect my kid. She goes, oh no, you got to tell it to go. And I'm like, is it evil? And she goes, no. Half of his face was blown off. So she's seeing this. And the reason why she's seeing this is when you pass away through means that were very tragic and, instantaneous, car crash, your head being, shot up or whatever, not as you were supposed to plan. You'd never had the person or individuals take you and transition you from your body into the afterlife. So you get stuck in this blackness, and then you get the white light or whatever you want to call it, and it scares the hell out of you. What is that? I'm not going towards it. So they get stuck there. So what happens in a sea of black, children, when they're born up to a certain point, they're all psychic. They can see things, hear, touch, the whole nine. And when they go to school, that stuff gets pushed out or crowded by things that will prevent them from utilizing it properly. But just imagine being in the pitch black and all of a sudden you see a pinpoint of light. And as you walk toward it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, like a lighthouse. You see another one, but I'm going to go to the ones closer. When you go into that light, those are the little lights of psychics, kids that have abilities or people that have abilities. So then you enter that area and you see this child there and you're like, hey, can you help me? Can you, you can see me. Can you help me? Now imagine, again, half the face gone and some kid is sleeping there and there's somebody with half a face. What are you going to do? That's what happens. So it's learning to deal with it, because these kids are on the front lines. They don't even realize it. And this is why you get the star children in the training, and why I actually know what's going on with my children. And I try to work with them. I don't read anybody unless you ask me to, just to letting you know, but I do read my two daughters and I read their friends, because that's my responsibility. When they become 21, I'll pull back a little bit. But yeah, and my youngest does it.
The
We're back.
question here, if the aliens were here to help, they would have intervened with all peoples at the same time. The aliens have been harvesting human populations for thousands of years. Where do you think?
Yep, I agree with you. They definitely would have intervened at a certain point. But okay, let me start off by this. I do not believe there's a galactic federation of aliens out there looking to help human beings. But I do know that all these different species have destroyed their own species and planet. They're sterile and they need to propagate their planet again and their species. So what do? There's a concept that multiple different species of extraterrestrials and interdimensionals created us, not necessarily God, or we're in the process, putting the best of each species into the human race and also keeping it as the perfect foundation to recreate life. So if you're a bread maker and you've been making these great breads, your family's been doing it entire life, they have something called the mother, which is the main piece that has the right amount of yeast in it. And then over time, you put more into it and it gets bigger. Same principle. So if you have, we learned this in science class in the US, I don't know about UK or Europe, but if you have a box with 4 quadrants in it, and the top is alien, human, and then on the side it's the top is alien, and the side is alien, human. No, human. Eventually, alien, human, human, alien. That's it. Alien, human, alien, human. Eventually, when you breed, you'll get alien, alien, human, where there's more alien than human in that child. You'll get human, and then you get human, alien. So you'll get aliens, you'll get humans, then you'll get a little bit of alien and a lot of human, and a little bit of human and a lot of alien. And over time in breeding, you can breed out the human and just get alien. And that's what they've been doing. Now, another thing they've been doing in relationship to, I do believe that we have so much potential and they're waiting for us to kind of start using it and our consciousness and vibrating in a higher dimension of frequency. We're almost at this point, the age of Aquarius. There are going to be people going to be left behind and people that are going to go and move on to different levels because we're done with the same old. We know we have to do better. And then that's why they're working with some people, certain individuals that are, this is your role on this planet. Go back and tell them about X, Y, and Z. Go back and tell them about this element. Go back and, we're trying to advance you. But yeah, I'm with you at this. I don't know if they're technically harvesting humans, but there are certain extraterrestrials like the EBEs, this little grays, that are all clones, by the way. Probably 80 IQ. They drive the ships, they crash them, they're worker bees. When they get off the ranch, they do have a taste for human flesh. And sometimes they go wild and they consume humans, just like cattle mutilations is human mutilations. And part of the cattle mutilations also goes to their reproductive process and cloning process, but also they do we are almost cattle at certain points.
Yeah, Brian, do you think we are part alien ourselves then?
You know what? I'm a big, strong believer in God, on the Judeo-Christian or whatever it is. That's where I lean. I want to think that God created these beings, and these beings were like a test before he created, or they were up there and you're not angels and you're going to be nowhere near them, but let's see what we can do. My first run at it. And then they created humans from that. I don't know if I think we may have part alien in us because there are certain things that we have that we shouldn't. And they know that biologically. There's junk DNA. Like, what is it for? But here's what the problem is: humans are very arrogant. We think we're the best at it. But guess what? We're not.
Yeah.
Clearly, because we have these craft that can do things that we can't do. And we couldn't do it until we made an agreement. Like, we'll let you abduct some people, give us some reverse engineering stuff. So we've got to stop with our arrogance as humans and open ourselves up to there's more to life than humanity. I don't know, I mean, it gets into not only the different races, but it gets into the Anunnaki. And of course, Inky said, "Now I'm going to let them do," Inky was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to make them slaves. I'm going to let them think a little bit." And that, how that turned out. So there's a lot of different things that have taken place on this planet over billions of years that we're not aware of. I thoroughly believe we're just part of a cycle of previous existence that has reached a certain plateau of technology
Yeah.
before we destroy ourselves. And
Well,
our goal now is not to destroy ourselves.
Exactly, because they most look at us sometimes and think all they want to do is to kill
Yeah.
everybody. Wars
Yeah.
here, wars there. Shall we intervene?
I mean, I did a prediction show on my show. I do a show every Wednesday, Third Eye Live, 8 p.m. Eastern. And I had like 20 people on, and we predicted 2026. And everybody, we were all pretty close to each other. I thoroughly believe, first of all, disclosure isn't coming from any human on this planet. Actually, disclosure happened already. If you really want the truth, it happened in 1977, and your audience will know how it happened because it was with these tones. That's from Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes.
Okay. In that movie, the man that was responsible for debunking extraterrestrials, UFOs, and all that, Dr. Hynek, was in the movie, did not violate any of his signed documents. All he did was stare and put a pipe in his mouth. Go see the movie. You'll understand why that is true disclosure. Disclosure, I think, is going to happen this year. I think we're going to get craft. I predicted same craft being seen on multiple locations throughout the globe, multiple countries.
I've
and
said
they're
that
going to eventually come down. Yeah, I think
I've
they're going
said
to come.
that this year is going to be the one.
This is it. And this is not a Project Blue Book, by the way. I mean, Project Blue Beam. This is literally like, no, we're not doing this anymore. Now, the problem and the ramification of it is deep because you have individuals that believe in a God. You have individuals believe in certain individuals.
Yeah.
And this is contrary to what was
their beliefs.
taught. Right.
Yes. I
So
agree.
it's going to mess up people.
And they keep saying, but Trump's going to say something this year as well.
I hope so. I got money riding on that one.
He's going to say these aliens are real. They do come and visit us.
I think he needs to, and I think someone needs to do it. And if anybody's going to do it, that's the man that's going to say it. He wants to be the first at all of this stuff.
Oh, of course he does.
Whether you like him or not. I'm not here. We're not getting political on these things.
No, oh no.
But it would be good to say, my fellow Americans, I did this because we released these files, and I'm going to tell you this now, and we will get more and more information as it moves on. But our government is very much aware that extraterrestrials and interdimensionals are real, and so are their technology. And we have been doing some interactions with them for a very, very long time. So that would set the precedent. And then from there, they can slowly drip it because they can control the narrative at that point. But I think an event's going to happen with an extraterrestrial craft that's going to force the hand of the president.
I do as well, yeah.
Right?
Going to be shown in major cities around the world.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands of people are going to see these crafts.
It's literally going to be seen by everybody on the planet. everybody's going to see him. What was that? What was that? It's going to be on the news. It's going to be in the mainstream media for people there. It's going to be in the dark web area. It's going to be everywhere, and people are going to be talking about it more and more, because I'll again, not all of these beings are friendly at all.
Yeah.
A lot of them you don't want to deal with. On what's this Chris Turner's "Don't Mention the Reptilians," right?
Yeah.
That's a race of beings. They're very tall, they're very arrogant, they're like over 400 on the IQ quotient scale. I mean, it's just insane. They think of us as parasites, and the moment that they can get rid of us, they're going to. So, but I think a lot of the light is going to be shed on this subject and topic. So yeah. As far as creating us, I mean, there is talk about it, but who knows at this point? There could be markers that we're not aware of. What the problem I have is, Bob, with a lot of stuff lately, because I did study science and scientific record and whatever. Science throughout history has been bought and paid for by governments and agencies, and they're there to push a narrative. But if you go to a university and you take, for example, Geology 101, basic class, they will tell you that every 26,000, 27,000 years, the Earth changes its axis, and we go through an Earth change, which is tidal waves, massive natural disasters,
Yeah.
the pole shift. I mean, what is once, nice and warm becomes ice. It's just what it is. And that's like a blink in the talk about the eye of this planet. So I don't believe the fossil records. I believe they're hiding information. And I think the problem we have here is we have individuals who have been hiding stuff for so long and lying, that we as citizens of this planet and good people, we're tired of it. Just give us the truth. Why are you, BSing us? Because it's all about control, right?
Exactly.
Once they lose control, that's when we really start going from here to up here. When they lose control and we're not being throttled, that's when we lose control. Did you see the report from Princeton University about consciousness?
Oh, yes.
Right. I posted it on my timeline. They don't want us using our third eye. They don't want us using our consciousness and to meditate and vibrate at a higher frequency, because we will realize we don't need them. We don't need a government. We need each other, and to work with each other equally, no matter what, and move it up and be better. It's a control narrative. That's why, we're throttled down. So I don't want to get you in trouble, so I'm shutting the mouth on things.
Right, we're just about run out of time.
Sure.
But it's always been, I always enjoy when you come on the show. I won't leave it too long for next time. I will come on your show. Just give me just let me know. Give me the date and time.
Sure. Yeah, it'll be, because I'm doing a special now, because I kind of got that from Alien 8 UK, Andy. Hopefully I'll see him again this summer. Maybe bringing Tommy out with him. Just kidnap Tommy at this point. Tommy Cullen. Come on. But they did it their show at like 3 p.m. on a Friday, and I'm like, I can do the same thing. Yeah. And this way I don't compete with my friends that are doing show. I don't want to compete with anybody.
And I don't do it on Thursday. I don't do a show on Thursday. Mine's Wednesdays and Fridays.
Right. So, but I can we can do something Monday as a special show at 3:00 Eastern, which is about 8 your time, right?
Yeah.
So that works out great. And then you get the people in the UK see you.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of nowhere, nowhere a radio show. and it works for me because my audience gets introduced to you, because I cannot, even though as we get older we're up like all hours of the night.
Oh God.
It's like I can't, like 8 o'clock my time is like 4 something in the morning for you guys, and I don't want to talk to anybody at 4 in the morning.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, nobody. It's just
Oh,
like I'm sleeping. No. So
no
I,
need for it, is there? No need
yeah,
for it these days when you can alternative.
yeah, you can do this. This is why we can do it. And again, thank you very much for having me on out of nowhere.
Wonderful.
And I love
Thank
talking
you.
to you. And tell
Right, hey,
Paul and Mary I send my love and my blessings to them
I
and the
will
family.
speak to him tomorrow, more than
You got
likely.
it.
He'll have a show tomorrow evening. I think he's got a show tomorrow night at 7 o'clock
Right.
UK time.
Well, that's good.
If he don't do it on a Thursday, he's doing it on a Sunday.
Yeah, Sundays and weekends, because I have a younger one, is a little bit difficult at this point, but I'm gonna go check it out either way and send him. I have It's been such a long time since I've just chatted with him, not on some camera or what, like for a live or whatever. So he's one of my favorites, and so are you.
Oh,
And I
great.
love when you guys go out.
I know.
Great.
Right. My guest on Friday is Trey Hudson on Friday.
Trey's a great guy. He's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
He's going to tell you the portal incident that I talked about was from Trey. So ask him about it.
Return to the Meadow.
Yes, and let me tell you something. He's the real deal. He's a great researcher, investigator. His team is amazing, and you guys in the audience are going to be blown away by what Trey
He's
says.
a great guy.
Yeah.
I love him. He's been on the show before, but it's a while ago. I think it was 2 years ago. Time flies.
It does.
I think last time you were on the show was 3 years ago.
Bob, my daughter is 18, and I'm like, when did that happen? Because I did a presentation. I met Trey. I was doing a presentation at the Vanished premiere and Paracon from Relic Film and Media. And my presentation, Greg Ogles, who you probably should have on with Natalie Smearman, who was just there at the conference with Bigfoot in the UK, couldn't drive the car properly. Sorry, Natalie, it's truth. But he said, do something with UFOs and aliens, but don't bring them. And I'm like, okay, I won't bring them. But I did. What I like to do is I try to show you from my research, my actual footage. I showed you those things. And in one of them, my oldest daughter was 4 years old, and she had the cutest little voice. And I'm like, I missed it. And I was like, that brought me right back to when she was 4, and she's 5'10" and not 4 anymore. And she doesn't have the cutest little voice. She's beautiful, but Trey, so I did that. I did sightings and mutilations, and that's where I started talking about, because I'm one of the only people, if the only person on film that has talked about not only cattle mutilations but human mutilations.
Yes.
And yeah, I and that's a scary topic for a lot of people. Hi, Shelly.
Shelly's
Shelly
coming now. Yeah, Shelly.
Yeah.
Sir B.
Yes. It's a Knights Templar through an organization, not through a queen or a king. And I follow the philosophy of what the Knights Templars became through their enlightenment of what they discovered. And it's doing good and do no harm, type of thing, and fight for justice and the welfare and the betterment of humanity, and individuals that are very important to us to make us better people.
Yeah. Send us them photos then.
Oh, I will.
Thank you very much, and I won't leave it too long this time. And
no problem.
I'll tell Paul, and he'll. Well, I told you, he asked me who I had on, and he said, "Oh, he's a great guy. He is."
Yeah, I love Paul, and he's an artist. I mean, like, you don't understand. I really got to get over to the UK eventually.
Oh, get to Bempton.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I have a bunch of you guys to, like, just and videotape everything. So I'm working on something. I'm trying to develop something, and if I can get it done, I will be UK bound, and you will be on a program.
Brilliant.
Another one.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yep.
So thank you again.
Thank you.